do you think is the most underrated tactic that you would suggest organizations jump onto?
It's video. It's video of any kind. I think the number one tactic is going to be personalized video, one-to-one. If I can make someone feel as if they already know me before even meeting me, and I get that all the time. When I finally meet someone, I consistently get Warren the following statement: "Oh my God, I feel like I already know you." Number one, without a doubt, for those folks who are listening, really invest in video.
My guest today is Javed Khan. He's a keynote speaker, a networking master, and the founder of EMpression, a marketing services company in Aurora, Ontario. I love this guy's hustle and I love his energy. We talked about how he made the decision to start his own business, advice for anyone who wants to speak at conferences and get paid for it, as well as some great marketing tips for your business or your personal brand. This is my conversation with Javed Khan. So, Javed Khan.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much for being here today.
Well, thank you.
I'm sorry to take you away. You have one of the busiest schedules of anyone I've seen, so I'm sorry to pull you away from that. What have you been up to this year?
Oh, gosh.
Like you got your hands in everything. You're speaking, you're consulting. Your company, it's what, EMpression Marketing?
Yeah.
And how long have you been running that now?
So so thanks, Warren. I don't know if I'm the busiest. Maybe it's perception, but it's
You're hustling. You're out
I'm
there.
hustling.
You're traveling all over the place.
I'm trying to be a Warren Weeks. I'm trying to be like a Warren Weeks version 2.
No, you're more like a Gary V.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's yes, we have a company, EMpression. It's a marketing services company, so it's been around for 11 years. The difference, though, is that we're marketing services. We're not an agency for a purpose, for a reason. Mm-hmm. We really believe that regardless if you're a rep from an organization or you're an individual professional for professional services, we just fundamentally believe that at some point in the evolution of your organization or your particular business, you're going to require 4 services from a marketing standpoint. So we developed our company around the 4 services. So those are website services, copywriting services, digital media, digital marketing services, and then obviously graphic design, brand.
So like the full front end, like when a company, now in terms of the clients you work with, are they, and I'm sure there's a range, but are we talking like, banks, insurance companies? Are they kind of like local businesses, kind of mid-size? Like who do you think is your kind of sweet spot?
Yeah, I think it is quite diverse. We tend to look at, for us, it's like, I call them tier 2, tier 3 companies. So organizations that are not necessarily the startup, but they're now beyond startup and they want to get to that next level.
Right.
Or there are companies or individuals who are doing very, very well. They just need help. Because the number one thing when I was building the company, the number one thing I heard from C-level or leaders constantly was not necessarily idea generation. It was management and execution.
Right.
That's the number one thing. So our sort of mantra is that we not only do your strategy, but we manage and we execute. So
what kind of team, like, do you have, and 'cause all I know is you basically, and I know that you're out there and people are kind of tweeting it up for you. So what kind of bench strength team do you have?
Yeah, there's 28 of us.
Wow.
So we've got a bench strength ranging from website designers and developers to content writers to an entire video team of like 7 people.
Yeah.
To Facebook, we've got one person who just really focuses in on Facebook Messenger and Facebook advertising. Then we have a social team. So we try to it's kind of matched up. We have a creative director. We've got a senior designer. So we're matching it up with the services.
Right.
The number one thing, though, Warren, is that we need to have a bench strength that's able to then execute. These are people who are actually rolling up their sleeves and executing on your behalf.
Where are you finding, like, is it the college folks? Is it people from the industry? Like where, one of the big complaints I hear from, or one of the big opportunities, I guess, how you look at it, is finding people who are, hard workers and dedicated people.
Yeah.
So where are you finding folks?
Yeah. So there's a combination, right? So there are people who are of a younger generation on the team. Then there are people who are the older.
I'm gonna say the millennial word.
Yeah. Well, there are people who perhaps are in their, early to mid 30s to some who are, sort of my age in the late 40s, early 50s. So it's a diverse range. But in terms of where we're finding them, a lot of it is, it's either, hey, we're looking for someone like this and we put it out online, or someone knows someone. So I think the biggest thing for us at the end of the day for us is We just want to partner with organizations or individuals who firmly believe that they need marketing support and help.
Yeah.
Most importantly, they're not the ones. That's for us. That's the sweet spot. The ones who recognize that, and so that's where we sort of sidle up and stand side by side.
So for 2020, for anyone listening to this, again, no matter what business size, and I'm curious for myself because I'm always experimenting with different marketing tactics. What would if I asked you just off the top for 2020, what is the number one marketing tactic and forget the strategy for now, but like, what do you think is the most underrated, most powerful tactic that you would suggest organizations jump onto?
It's video. It's video of any kind. I think the number one tactic is going to be personalized video, one-to-one. That's number one. Those by far are game changers.
When we say one-to-one, are you talking like in your inbox kind of thing, or what do you mean?
So I'm doing a video to you, one-to-one. If I'm doing a video to an email list, that's one-to-many.
Yep.
So there's two types of communications that we always talk about. One-to-one, meaning I'm going to send it to one individual or maybe a couple of individuals, that's kind of one-to-one. But if I'm sending it to 1 to 100 or my email list of 3,000, that's one-to-many.
And you're on, like, you're doing this. Like, I'll send you an email and I get a video back.
Yeah. I do anywhere between 12 to 13 a day.
Wow. And you've got the whole backdrop.
I got the whole backdrop.
So what, do people ever, like, do some people think it's weird? Like, I'm sure some think it's great. Some must be like, hey man, let's kind of, do they feel like they need to give you a video back now? I don't.
Yeah. I don't. Do they feel it's weird? No.
Does anyone ever tell you like, oh, like, do you get some feedback?
I get a lot of feedback. I get everything from holy crap, I've never had this before, to wow, that's all I got is wow, thank you for the personalized video.
No one's ever creeped out a little bit?
No one's ever said, man, you're a nut bar, or that's crazy, or what a freak you are. No, they've said, I think they've said, it's because it's, and we've had this conversation, and you say this quite a bit in terms of your media training and your social conversations. These days, it's all about the experience. It's all about experience. And, we've talked about the fact that, customer service is gone. There's no such thing as customer service, but it's all about customer experience. How do people feel? Well, that for me is video. If I can make someone feel as if they already know me before even meeting me, and I get that all the time.
Yeah.
When I finally meet someone, I do consistently get...
There's context there.
There's context, but I consistently get, Warren, the following statement. Oh my God, I feel like I already know you because I've sent them already 3 videos before I've seen them.
Interesting.
And so I find, so back to your question, number one, without a doubt, for those folks who are listening, really invest in video. And that means not go and spend tons of money. That means grab your iPhone and do personalized video, or go and invest in a video software. And we can talk about that also. Get into it in video software, invest in it, and use it on a daily basis. Everyone who comes to us who wants to do personalized video, rather than us saying, go and invest in the software, the first question we say is why? What's your purpose? What do you want to do? And then we start saying, okay, take your pen and paper out and let's put a list together of where you would leverage video messaging. And that's where the juices start happening, because then they're like, well, and everyone thinks about selling, right?
Hard sell, yeah.
Everyone thinks about hard sell. So
it doesn't work at all anymore.
It doesn't work at all. So, I get people saying, oh, I'll do it with this, I'll do it with that. And I say, well, the examples you just shared with me, that's all selling. No. What about, so when you get a referral, do you send a thank you card? Yeah, I do. Great. Well, then
send a thank you video.
Send a thank you. Do a thank you card. Keep doing that.
Yeah.
But now send a thank you video. Or when you get a referral, do you give the referral an update? And they look at me and say, what do you mean? Well, if Warren Weeks referred me, I will go and say, hey, Warren, I'll do a video. Hey, Warren, it's Javed. I just got off the phone with Jack. Thanks for the referral. Here's what we're going to do with Jack. And I'll keep Warren
video
in
update.
Video update.
So the hurdles, though, like, I think a lot of people know video is important intellectually, and then when it comes to actually executing on it, there's so many reasons. I don't know how to do it. I don't like the way my hair looks, or whatever. Or you'll have a lot of organizations that get the teleprompter and the sort of old, like the 1985 corporate video that, like, they're soul killing. Like, when you start watching someone reading from a teleprompter, it's awful. So I guess there's a coaching phase or whatever that the people need to buy into this.
Yeah, they have to. Yeah, and I think the number one thing is, you hit it right there. It's, I don't look good. I don't like my voice. I got a terrible. And I said, look,
You're doing that in meetings.
It's like, yeah, first of all,
they're looking at your face already.
Your look, you have no control over your look. So your look is your look. It is what it is. You've got to embrace it and move on. I think once you do some practice, if you can start doing 2 or 3 a day and make it part of once you make it part of your process and you're part of your experience. So when someone thinks of Javed Khan or Warren Weeks, they think, oh, those are the guys who do video, or those are the guys who talk, who have great. That's what you're looking for. The sales stuff, that's just going to come. Right. It'll come. But to build relationships with people in 2020, it will be video. If you can build relationships with video, and I'll give you an example. When someone sends me a voicemail, I send them a video message back. When someone connects with me on LinkedIn and spends that extra time in doing a personalized invite, I'll send them a video on LinkedIn Messenger. Like, I'll do as much as I can so I can have that first impression right out of the gate. And for me, it's about my brand experience, and I want them to understand that I'm a little different. So, again, back to the conversation of video, if people can invest in a software and do the one-to-one and one-to-many with video, you'll be gold.
Is there software that you, not to plug a company, but, one of the issues is, someone clicks on the video and nothing happens.
Exactly.
Right. So what's the easiest thing for them to do?
Yeah. I think, and also there's a bandwidth, right? So a lot of people
you don't want to have like a 4 gigabyte video showing up in someone's.
That's exactly right. And you hit around a nail. People will look at me and say, well, I don't really need a software. I'll just do my video on my phone and then I'll upload it and I'll attach it to.
Crushing the system.
Exactly. It's like no one's going to open that up because it's going to take so much data.
It's got to be compressed.
It's got to be compressed. So, and you're right. I don't want to plug one or the other, but there are multiple software companies. There's Vidyard.
They're from Waterloo, aren't they?
Vidyard's from Waterloo. Yeah. There's BombBomb. That's the one we use.
Okay.
And BombBomb's the leader. It's been around for.
How do you spell that?
BombBomb.
B-O-M?
So B-O-M-B.
Okay.
And then another B. B-O-M-B. Okay. So if they go to ilovemybombbomb.com, they'll get information on that. But the point is you do have to use some sort of software because then when you're sending the personalized video, you can create it in a way so that it becomes part of your newsletter.
Right.
It has some branding that has your look and feel rather than, and then also any software, and I would suspect both Vidyard or BombBomb, I'm sure there's others, will have applications that you can put on your iPhone or your mobile device and send personalized video from your phone, and you don't have to worry about the data storage.
So I feel like we're kindred spirits in a way. We're sort of in the same sort of, we don't do the same thing, but we're sort of in the same ballpark, and where we overlap is sort of the speaking area, and that's where I met you. Yeah. First time I met you, I was actually telling someone about it the other day because I knew I was going to be meeting you today. So we were at Blue Mountain, I believe it was 2016 or 2017. In the summer, they had their the CSAE Trillium Summit, and I did a talk on social media, and you did one on email marketing right after, and we just kind of hit it off.
Yeah.
And what I found interesting about your talk is that I'd met you like 10 seconds earlier, and then like you remembered almost everyone's name in the room, and you're injecting them into your talk, and you're walking around the room. I thought that was really I'd never seen anyone kind of speak like that. So I want to go back kind of to the beginning of like how you decided to work for yourself. Like when did you, like what were you doing before? Like I know you've been in the Canadian Forces for a long time, but like what was did you have like a desk job, like a cubicle job before you started your business?
Yeah, I work primarily in investment services, so investment firms, mutual fund type of.
On the marketing side?
On the marketing side. Originally it was when I first got into the investment sort of world, it was in the customer service, so I was kind of the CSR answering phones from financial advisors or from the public, and then eventually had an opportunity to get into the marketing world and primarily working very closely with the national sales team, supporting them from a marketing perspective. So I did that for a while. I did that at a number of firms. And then 11 years ago, I thought, I could probably do this on my own, do the hustling on my own. And most importantly, because I had my first child, my son, and then we're going to have another. It was like, okay, I can control my lifestyle. I don't want to be away all the time, 9 to 5 job.
It's a tough decision.
It's a tough decision, right? Well, and it's not for everybody.
No,
right? You and I think have a certain DNA that you need to have.
But I saw this tweet the other day, and it kind of drove me a little bit bonkers. This woman said, she was talking about the freelance lifestyle. And I would say that this is a little bit beyond freelance to me, but she said, the people who talk about freelancing or kind of starting their own business never talk about, their trust funds and the big bank accounts they have and the spouse making 6 figures. I'm like, I didn't have any of that shit.
Yeah.
And so it kind of made me, like, I'm sure there are people like that, but I think most, like, I was, for the first 5 years, I was filled with terror pretty much every day.
Yeah.
And working till like 2 and 3 and thinking the wheels are going to fall off this thing. And just like that fear.
Yeah.
So it's a tough, like I think a lot of people think I'd like to start a business, or they're sitting in a cubicle and they're not happy with their life, or their boss is a dick or whatever. And they're thinking maybe it could be doing it, but to make that jump is huge. So like, what was there like a moment? Was there a catalyst? Was there, I'd like to find like what made you actually make the leap?
I think that my catalyst was when every year you'd get these bonuses, and so you're like, okay, I'm gonna get a pretty good.
This is the year I crushed it.
I just crushed. I kick ass. Like I was working my ass off, and you get that sit down with your boss, and the boss says, well, we can only give you X percent, and usually that X percent is like 3.
Yeah,
and you're like, fuck, 3%, and then meanwhile they're getting all these bigger bonuses because they're
they're chopping up this pie and giving you little tiny slices.
Meanwhile, they're taking the bigger piece because they are, they're the AVP or the VP or SVP, and I get it, I get that, but I just realized, you know what,
you can't win this game.
I'm not going to win this game. Yeah, that's number one. Number two, and I said this to everybody, my friends, anyone I meet up with, I'm not a political guy. Like I can't play business politics. That's just not me. I tell it like it is. And sometimes when
it's code for ass kissing.
And I can't do that, right? Yeah. And unfortunately, in some cases, I got canned because I told it like it is, and so they're like, "You're out of here." So okay, well, see you. And every 2 minutes we're in a meeting. Like for
meetings
what?
Are just
like what do you need a meeting for, right? And being in the armed forces, we're trained to get the shit done. Like okay, meet once, give your orders. Answer any questions. No questions, great, move on. Yeah. And then we'll come back and here it was meeting after meeting after meeting. And every time I'd say, okay, like when are we delivering this? So that was the other thing that kind of ramped up for me and saying, all right.
It sounds like it was a process of just kind of frustration over time.
I think so. And I think also you're hitting on there. I think I was going through the motions. Was I passionate about, I think for me it was more about, like everyone, paycheck, benefits, good company, right?
Acknowledgement, respect, and all that. But like, if you're, if you feel like you're gonna it's this vicious circle, right? If you feel like you're not being respected or compensated properly, then why are you going to be giving 100%?
Yeah,
I'm not going to say 110 because it's impossible.
So. And there's also people think it's security. Oh, it's a secure. There's nothing secure, man. Like
about this lifestyle.
Oh no,
or like having a job
in corporate. Oh, it's a secure job.
Well, any day they could walk you in and just say
you're a number, right? And that's the other thing I realized.
It's a huge risk.
Of course it is.
Having a job.
And that's the other thing I realized that after time. Crap, I'm just a number. They don't really care. Like, they could walk me out anytime they want. They're not going to care about my feelings.
There's a recession or something, and they have to cut like 20% of the people.
Yeah, and usually it's marketing people. Right?
That's the first ones that go. So when you started up, how did you begin? Like, I know how I started with a 1-year media relations contract with an insurance company, and I thought, okay, so I have a paycheck for the day, and I'm going to be like, I'm going to go and do my work, but then I'm going to go home, and every night from like 7 to 11, I'm going to start my business. I'm going to start cold calling. And so I gave myself a year to get client number 2. And it took me 11 months to get client number 2, which was like, I was kind of sweating it near the end of that year. How did you, I'm interested to find out, because everyone's different, but how did you make that jump to get to that first client or whatever it was?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's very similar to yours. Had an opportunity to touch base with a gentleman who was running a small little boutique investment firm. Had a conversation with him. And next thing you know, he had me in to his office. We chit-chatted further, and I said, look, let's do this on a contract basis. And so it was like you, but I was driving quite a ways to this place. So very much like you, had the 1-year contract. While I was doing that, I was kind of touching base with some others. I was talking to other friends of mine who may have known others, and next thing you know, I've got another one and then another one. And it got to the point where it's like, okay, I can't handle 2 or 3 all at once. So I had to figure that one out, and then started to build.
Were you just kind of freelancing on these, and then you put it under a business?
Yes. Yeah, okay. Exactly. Yeah. And then eventually it was like, okay, hey, the questions were like, hey, do you guys do designs? Like, yeah.
Sure, yeah.
I'm like, yeah,
I'll
sure.
paint your fence.
Yeah, I'll do the
cut your grass.
Yeah, I'll do the design. Sure. You want me to do dry cleaning? Sure, I'll do that.
The first 10 years, I said no to no one.
No.
You just say yes.
I just said, oh yeah, we do design. I'm like, okay. So then got to go find design. Hey, and so I'd really, I really would like you guys to also do the writing. Oh, okay, writing, yeah, okay.
So you just figure it out.
Yeah, it's like, okay, and then next thing you know is website. Oh yeah, we can do website. Sure, we can do website. We can do all kinds of websites.
That's great.
Right, and then next, over and over, and just kind of, you're right. It was like, hey, so there's still people. Oh, do you do research? That's the one. That's one thing I said no.
Yeah,
we don't do
you
research.
can't fake that.
Can't fake that because I don't know anyone.
Well,
in
and
research.
even and not, fake is the wrong word, but like there's certain skills that I think that you can figure out how to deploy or hire for.
Yes.
And if you're doing like research for me, they would also be a no because like I can't even if I hire someone, I can't tell if they're doing it well.
Exactly. I'm not comfortable. Like I don't have enough people in my network who are researchers that I can lean on and say, hey, what does this mean? Like, and what's the pricing model? How do you model this thing? So
I know there's a lot of highs and lows when you're doing business on your own. I'd like to look at the two poles or two ends of the spectrum. When I ask you, what was one of the most rewarding moments you've had since you started your business? What comes to mind?
Oh God, it's a very good question. Most rewarding moment.
Just like that, made you feel like, yeah, I made the right choice. This was like I wouldn't have experienced this if I didn't have my own business.
Wow, that's a good question. Let me think. I think when one of they're not with us anymore, meaning they're not a client partner, but when they received an award internally because of their marketing program that they put together, which really was us, and that was like, all right, that's good. We did this from nuts to bolts. That's good.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah, it made me feel good, and it's like, all right, that's good. That's something that maybe in the corporate world I may not have received, because even in the corporate world we were doing stuff, getting awards, but it wasn't me on the stage. It wasn't me getting the acknowledgement.
So it was the VP who gave you 3%.
Exactly. It was the VP saying thank you, and the VP would never say, well, it wasn't really me. It was all these people. No, the VPs I knew would say, no, it's me.
So would people, anyone who has a business, whether it's a bakery or dry cleaner or the stuff that we do, I think most people have no idea of the amount of work that goes into it, like the gargantuan, like if you just to put it in perspective, it's ridiculous. So looking at all of that, did you ever at any point think of like, screw this, pack it in?
Yeah, I did. Oh, totally. Or my wife said, screw this, pack it in.
And what moments, like what led to that? Like what would happen that would bring you to that point?
I had more than enough moments where I would sit, in the morning, take my shower and look in the mirror and say, what invoices are coming in? I don't have any invoices coming in.
And it's just you. Like if you don't like,
and then the panic would like internally say, oh man, I got nothing. I got nothing. So what am I going to do? Okay, I got to go and let me look back and let me call people I've called like 6 months ago and let me
see if I can rekindle something.
Or is there an event I can go to? So there was many moments of
that's a kind of anxiety that is hard to communicate to someone who gets a check every 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. So
it's a good motivator too.
It is a good motivator, but you got it is that anxiety. I felt anxiety a few times where I'd be like, oh man, I don't have. And my wife would say, so any invoices? I'm like, oh my god, I've got to think of that. I don't think I do. Now what am I going to do? Right. So it was that's been more than once. But then that's why I say I think people like you and I, you need to have a certain DNA to say, okay, fine, it's a dull moment. What do we got to do? Right? Okay. Pick yourself up. Think. Now it's always think positive. Right. Think positive. Surround yourself with positive energy. Surround yourself with positive people. Recently, I've just been saying to myself, anyone who has a negative energy around me, they're out. Get
rid of them.
I'm out. Right? Or if I'm in an event or having a conversation that's all negative, I just excuse myself because I feel that in
it kind of infects you or it takes away. It's like a vampire.
Yeah, or I'm in a potential opportunity and I just feel that there's some negativity or it's not going to be a good fun time to do work. Thanks, but no thanks.
Something you don't learn until you're older. Back, I figured 10, 15 years ago, just I figure it out, make it work. But you're right. Like it's one of those life is too short kind of realizations.
Like, did you have that too? Did you have sort of that anxious or anxiety where,
it's funny case? That, I, in this era of high tech and apps and sort of everything's in the cloud, the way I keep track of my year is on a whiteboard. Like I have a big whiteboard that I get at Staples, it's like whatever, 4 feet wide or whatever.
Okay.
And that's how I track media training, like training sessions, crisis training, and talks, whether I'm doing them at a conference or school or whatever. So I have them on this big whiteboard, and I used to just at the end of the year, I'd erase the board and start over. And what I started doing about 3 or 4 years ago is I just buy a new one. So I have,
oh, really?
So I'll have like 2016 is sitting in my office still on this board, and 2017 is sitting there in 2018. And so 2019, I'm just wrapping up. And the reason I bring that up is that every December, offices start shutting down, and we're having our Christmas parties or holiday parties, whatever the politically correct word is for those today. And the emails would stop and the phone calls would slow down. And then you'd find yourself in a situation where, as a business owner, as a one-person business in my case, that I'm looking at this whiteboard, and then because of the frantic activity of the year, you're so busy, and now you're not. And you're thinking, this is it. It's over now, and so, and then, during the holidays, you have all this time, and nothing is happening. And I'd be sitting and looking at this, there's nothing more daunting than just an empty whiteboard. It's supposed to be like the last one's full, and you're thinking, where's this going to come from?
Right.
What businesses are these going to be? Like who, and you have no idea. And then, I had the same thought a year ago, and now the one for this year was filled up at like 72 things this year, right? Like just like events or sessions or whatever. And, but yeah, that used to be, and it wasn't just at Christmas, but to me, that was the big one of the year where things would kind of like start winding down, and the anxiety level would kind of ramp up, and you would think like, this is it, it's over. And it took me about maybe 15 years to get to a point where, and now because you've got stuff kind of booked out into the future, that kind of went away. But like to build a self-sustaining business and to have a reputation that people will like, that kind of propels itself, takes like 10, 15 years, I think.
So what would be on that whiteboard?
Whose podcast is this?
I'm just asking. This is really interesting. That's a really good idea. So,
like I'm visual, right?
Yeah,
so,
me too.
And I use Outlook, and I have reminders for everything. If I didn't have reminders, I'd forget to eat.
Yeah.
So on the whiteboard, I have like anything that would be like a half or full day training session with a client, a talk with, like I did a talk in Ottawa last week. Or like a conference, like you speak at conferences, that would be on there as well.
So you jot the actual conference?
I put down the date, and then I'll just say like the client name and like what it is. So like, so I have one tomorrow, it'll say like the client name, and it'll say half day, full day, and what city it's in. So, cause like a couple times this year, I almost booked tickets to the wrong city, just like kind of just going on memory. And I'm like, I was supposed to go in Moncton, and I almost went to Halifax. So this is the kind of shit like, probably need an assistant or something. Yeah. But so it just, and I could show you, I have pictures out on my phone.
That's amazing.
I'll show you after.
Yeah.
But it's just this visual.
Yeah, I love that.
And a couple now, or outstanding invoices I'll put off to the side, like things like, because I'll sometimes forget to follow up with the clients. I'll just put those down.
Okay.
Or if I see something like but that's basically, and then I color coded as well. So different, like talks would be one color, set media training sessions would be a different color. So you can see at a glance kind of what your ratio kind of looks like.
Yeah, interesting.
For me, like, these things cost like $30 for this board, and it's like invaluable to just like manage your business.
That's amazing. Great idea.
And then I take pictures of it all the time because I have kids who like doodling. And so more than a couple times I've come in there and I found it like empty and there's like cartoons on it. So I will take a photo of it once a week, just so I've got a pretty recent version of it.
Okay. Oh, that's an amazing idea. I love it. I'm gonna check that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So obviously you didn't pack it in, stuck with it.
Yeah.
Who would be some of your kind of business idols or kind of people that you look up to? I know one of them certainly that we kind of share, but like who do you think is doing this? Like who's your kind of spirit animal when it comes to this?
It's my uncle.
Really?
Oh yeah.
And what's his story?
My uncle's a software engineer in the United States. He's 40. He's been running his company for 45 plus years.
He's got to be in his 70s.
Yeah, he's early 70s. He's my mom's younger sibling, and just crushing it. He is a really, really good speaker. He's become a really, really good speaker internationally. He travels worldwide. His company's worldwide. It's a software engineering company. But just the way he presents himself, the way he presents him on stage, how he just makes every individual he meets feel like they're just rock stars and the best. It's just the overall drive that he has at that age, regardless of what age, but still at that age, is just amazing. And
so did you consciously try to model him?
I think in some cases I do. In some cases, yeah. In some, certainly in my delivery, and I do. Now, you know, he wears lit up jackets.
Is that where you got the Hawaiian shirt?
That's
thing?
right. So he wears lit up jackets that are designed by Michael Jackson's former designer.
Really?
They cost like I won't even mention it, but they cost a ton of money in US per jacket.
I'd like to see the other photos of this.
Yeah.
We'll put them in the show notes.
You go on the Instagram, go on his Instagram feed, and you'll see it. He's got his own.
Do you know his handle?
Yeah,
off top?
it's Ashraf Habibullah. So ASHRAF HABIBULLAH.
Oh my god!
He's got his own. He's got his own personal band that travels with him, called the Ashraf All Stars, or like an 8-piece.
Okay, what?
Like ASH. Say AS.
I'm gonna look this up.
Yeah, AS.
AS.
Okay, HRAF HABIB.
There he is.
You see him? So if you look at his Insta feed, you'll see the jackets.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got jackets. He's got vests. He has a band.
Wow. We'll link this in the show notes. You got to see this guy.
Oh yeah.
What a character.
Watch his videos. He just did an amazing keynote at Cal Poly yesterday.
Wow. He's got like a vest.
They're all lit up.
People in the audience are loving this guy.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And he's in his 70s.
Yeah, early 70s.
And that's what I love. Like, you know, people's like everyone.
He's got Madonna boots. He's got 3-4 inch heel boots.
From Madonna's designer?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. He wears black jeans.
Where does he live?
He's in Northern California. Yeah. He's been there since 1969. He's celebrating 50 years this year.
Just follow him. Amazing. Yeah. He's only got 100 posts.
Yeah.
He's got like one of his categories is my jacket.
Yeah, my jacket. Yeah.
So interesting. I didn't know about this.
So,
guy.
you know, he's just amazing. And then, you know, I think my influence also from a military background. I've got a lot of, my late father was in the military, very well respected individual in the Air Force. I've been in the Armed Forces Air Force for now 26 some odd years.
How did you get into that?
Very simple. My late father, way back in the early 80s, said, "Hey, do you want to go and join this thing called the cadets?" I'm like, "Sure, whatever. What's that?"
Army cadets?
No, it was Air Force. It was Air Cadets. So
I was in the Army cadets.
Were you really?
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I said, "Sure. Like, let's go check this out." So we went to the squadron, and he said, "Here," and he went and sat down with the commanding officer for all night long, and I was hanging out with these people in uniform, and okay, and then got in the car, and he looked at me and goes, "So what do you think, son?" I'm like, "Well."
How old were you?
I was 12.
So grade 8.
Yeah, grade 8. So I said, well, the only difference that I just saw was that they had uniforms on. Everything else is pretty much what we do at home. My dad had room inspections for us. We had to shine our shoes,
bounce a quarter off the
thing. I had to press his pants. Like, I was like, all right, they just have a uniform on.
Wow, you can do that to your kids. I'm gonna get my kids to do that.
So
I'll wash my car.
So he said, okay, do you want to join? I'm like, yeah. So I joined and moved up the ranks very quickly. Became the top cadet at the age of 18. Got my wings. Did all these courses, and then 2 years later, the commanding officer at the time said, "Hey, would you want to come back and be an officer?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" Wow. And then 2 or 3 years later, I become the commanding officer of the squadron, and one thing leads to another. Now I'm a standards officer with another squadron. So I find that part of my training has really helped me with my speaking, but also that part of my training has helped me with the way I present myself and the way I interact with people.
Yeah.
But I've also heard, another person that I've really gotten to know as friends is Ivan Meisner. Like Ivan Meisner,
I know that name.
He's a gentleman who 30 some odd years ago started BNI International.
Oh, okay.
Very, very well, very amazing individual. So I learned from there. So there's a couple of influences. And obviously Gary Vee with the stuff he's done that you and I.
He's got enough press. So with the military part of your career, are you still involved with these guys?
Yeah.
So what does that look like now?
Yeah, so I'm a captain. I'm a standards officer with an Air Cadet squadron.
Should I salute you when we meet?
And you got to be in uniform to do that. So if you're in uniform, absolutely.
Top Gun. How realistic is Top Gun?
Yeah. Well, when my father was around, because my dad was the Top Gun in the Air Force 2 years in a row.
Really?
Yeah, Nellis Air Force Base and Laredo Air Force Base.
Wow.
Yeah, first foreign-born Air Force pilot to be Top Gun in the United States Air Force.
What does Top Gun mean? Because I just think of Tom Cruise. Like, what is that?
Well, he did Top Gun. There's Top Gun.
That's a school or whatever,
yeah. So the Top Gun that everyone knows of is Top Gun for the Navy.
Yeah.
There's Top Gun for the Air Force.
Okay.
So there are different ones, but it's a competition amongst pilots of who's
and your
the
dad
best.
Won it.
My dad won it at the age of 19.
Jesus, that's amazing.
Yeah, and he had an attitude. So he told people to go. There was a couple of colonels who were somewhat biased towards his color of skin. So, he had a little bit of that. So, he did it not once. They asked him to come back and he did it again.
No way.
Yeah. So, I've got a signature photo of him in front of his jet that he did it. And so
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I'll send it over to you. Yeah, it's really, really, that's him. You look at him in 1964 and he's 19. You look and say, holy crap, the guy's 19. Right?
So, as I mentioned, I was in Army Cadets.
Yeah,
one year.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was amazing. Like well,
at least you tried it.
And this.
Why did you leave?
It was formative to me. So I had a friend in grade 8 who said, "I'm going to join this, Army Cadet thing." I'm like, you don't know what you're doing when you're 12. So I went down to the armories in Sault Ste. Marie, and like this big kind of just like a big hall, like with a hardwood floor, and. We went in, and I forget what the orientation looked like, but I thought, you know what, I'll give this a try. It seems kind of cool. And so got into it. And then a couple weeks in, I'm like, I don't know, it's marching and like taking orders, and like they just want you to be like everybody else. And you're all like, I'm like, I don't know. And maybe I didn't super like the guy who was ordering us around. And I said about 3 weeks in, I said, I think I want to quit. And my dad's like, great. After 1 year, you can quit.
Oh,
I'm
really?
Like, no, I want to quit like now. He's like, no, that's not how it works in this family. Like you took a commitment and you have to see it through. So you'll do 1 year and then you can quit.
Oh, wow.
Like shit. So I was the guy, and I was kind of lippy. So I was the guy, like I thought I was a comedian. So they'd tell you, and they don't like comedy in the Army so much. So I did a lot of push-ups. Like give me 20. I could do 50 push-ups like just at the drop of a hat. I was running, and then they got to running around the square, and then I was running around the outside of the building.
Oh
and so, but a lot of lessons that I picked up.
Yeah.
I learned how to shine boots. Like they look like glass.
Yeah. Amazing.
But the most memorable part for me was we had this 2-week Army camps. First time I was ever away from home, and it was in Ipperwash.
Oh, yeah.
Where is the Army base.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it just welded into my mind of like this experience, like so interesting and scary and amazing. Like we slept one night in a shelter we made out of fern leaves and sticks.
Yeah.
Me and 2 other dudes, one of whom I had a fist fight with. Like, so these are stories like just it's so funny.
Yeah.
But like so I did 1 year and then kind of like packed it in. But there was a respect for this. Like wasn't for me.
Yeah.
But,
no, it's not. It's not. And then you know what? It's not for. There are different reasons people join the cadet program. When I was at at that stage where I was recruiting, or the parents, we would have parents' nights where people would come and they want to listen in. The key message I said to every parent is like, look, your son or daughter, if they may not want to do the flying part, that's okay. This is not for everyone. Meaning, you're not joining the Air Cadets to be a pilot. If you want to join the Air Cadets, you're going to be a pilot. Great, but you can get other things: leadership, interactive skills, sports. There's all kinds
push-ups.
Well, you can't do any of that stuff anymore. But
they don't do that anymore.
No, you're not allowed to.
Why
do
not?
Any. No, you can't do. There's a lot of things you can't do anymore. So
this would be the time you want to be in the. But like, so what if somebody like yaps off? What do you?
There's a whole process of you gotta. There's a warning, a written warning.
Talk about your feelings now.
Feelings.
Really?
It's
kind of even the military's getting a little soft.
Well, because of the stuff that they've seen.
Everybody's
right? Like I remember when I was a cadet.
They would like abuse you.
Oh yeah, we would we would smack you in the head.
Yeah.
But no, that stuff. You can't even now.
People paid attention.
Oh yeah, they paid attention. Now you can't. You can't cuss. Not
allowed
to.
But really,
yeah,
that's all it was back then.
No, yeah, exactly. You can't sing the songs that we used to sing on the bus. You can't sing that. You can't now if you're an officer. When you're an officer, officers, even if you're in the room, you can't have any alcohol near you. Even if you're not drinking it, if you have a bottle of wine.
Is that like to have a photo or something?
No, you just can't have it around you with a cadet in that room. Yeah, you got to tell the cadet to leave the room.
So you're an officer? Is that what you're called?
Yeah, captain. I'm a captain.
So you're an officer and a gentleman. So this might be a stupid question, but like in the Air Force, do you know how to fly things?
So unlike the United States Air Force, we don't have enough aircraft to say, okay,
it's a Canadian military.
Yeah. So if you want to be in the Air Force and
so
you want to
fly, give you a copy of like Microsoft Simulator or whatever.
So here, if you want to fly and you want to do that, that's a full-time gig. Whereas there are people in the United States the National Guard,
Yeah.
who are, they are media trainers by day, and then they're flying F-16s during the weekends and going off to Iran, Iraq, and Afghanistan doing that stuff. But
that's cool.
We don't have that money here, so
no. What do you like? Again, stupid question, but then what do you guys do? Like, what do you?
So the program I'm part of is called the Cadet Instructor Cadre, the CIC. So I'm basically an Air Force Reserve officer in the CIC, and I'm part of a cadet
teaching
program.
people like how to what?
Teaching cadets from
shoot things.
Yeah, leadership, shooting, flying.
Are you good shot?
Yeah, I got a pretty good shot.
Shoot? Like, how often do you shoot stuff?
We don't do it as much because that's not in the air cadets. That's not our main mandate.
Yeah.
Whereas Army cadets,
that's all you do.
They do that nonstop. Where in the air cadets, it's really primarily about the air,
right?
And that's what we're learning. And then leadership, drill, all that stuff. Photography, all those different things. Yeah. But the primary in the air cadet program, the primary sort of overlaying is air. Whereas the Navy, they'll be going boating and sailing, and they'll all be learning about the water. So it all depends on the program. So
I feel like I'd be a good shot.
Oh yeah,
I've never tried.
We have biathlons. The air cadets deal with
the skiing and
skiing.
I don't want to do.
Yeah, marksmanship. We have that where that's all about shooting.
I think everyone thinks they'd be good until they try it.
You gotta try.
I heard it's very difficult.
Yeah, you got to try doing it with with a handgun. So which cadets don't do. But
it's harder. Like the accuracy is like lower.
It is. It's tough. It's tough.
Like John Wick blowing 200 people away.
Yeah.
I had an uncle or a great uncle who was a gunner in World War II. He was one of those, what do they call those little underneath the little glass, like a turret or something under the plane. Yeah.
Wow.
He's really good guy. And he was like little, like my family's not giants, but he was this little guy they'd put in there.
And he survived?
Yeah, survived. Wow. And a lot of them didn't.
No.
Like they said that they would.
That one and the one, so that position and the position at the tail.
Yeah.
Like, good luck.
You're just a target.
Yeah, good luck.
But they said that a lot of the times the guy in there would get shot. They would bring in the plane, hose it out, and just like put a new thing on and throw a new guy in there. But yeah, he made it out.
Wow, good.
A lot of stories. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Wow, the military stuff I find fascinating. And then I remember they brought us to Ipperwash has a beach. I think it's on Lake Huron.
Yeah.
And this is an actual Army base.
Yeah, it is.
And so we got to use it for the summer or for a couple of weeks. And they brought us out to the beach one day. They said you guys can go for a swim, like for an hour or whatever. Yeah. And then there's these huge billboards on the beach saying, do you know what I'm going to say? Live ammunition or live rounds are on the beach. Yeah. So if you find a grenade or like a shell or whatever, don't touch it.
Yeah.
So this is not the most like you're just everywhere you walk.
Yeah.
You're trying to walk in someone else's footsteps as you're getting to the beach.
Crazy.
Jesus.
It's crazy.
So I'd like to chat about the speaking bit as well, because that's something like I'm fascinated by it. I love your style. I would recommend people to check out your videos as well. And if anyone has a chance to see you speaking at a conference, it's a hoot, because you have this you're very, to me, again, I've seen a lot of speakers. To me, you're in the moment, you're in the room, you're with the people, you make relationships with them ahead of time, you connect with them, you're sending them videos. Like, I'm not going to name any names, but there are a lot of speakers out there who have very good careers who I feel are just kind of like mailing it in. And they're good speakers, but it's just they're technical. Like they get up there and you feel like you're kind of watching a YouTube video. Right. And I think if anyone who's been to a conference, like there's different levels of speakers. You have the practitioner who comes up there and they have their bullet points and they talk about their paper, and that's great. And then you have that kind of like the next level, and you have the keynote people, usually guys. I think they should have more women doing this, but like usually guys. And a lot of them I find, and it's funny that you'll, I'll talk to some people in the industry who talk about these 3 or 4 or 5 people as like just the vanguard. These guys are the best. And I don't know, like I'd be interested in, and again, I don't want to trash talk anybody, but like just talking about the art, because there's so many conferences and there's this finite list of people that they bring in to speak. And I find that some of them are just kind of, they're just kind of mailing it in.
Yeah. You hit it right on the nail there. It's an art. It is an art to speaking and I reciprocate. If for those who are listening haven't seen Warren speak, you should. You've got some. I think your style is amazing.
It sounds a little rough around the edges.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Sure.
I think the commonality that you and I have, And I think certainly, and we've had this conversation off air more than once, is, to do a package where both you and I speak together at an event, sort of a 2-for-1, because you and I have that one thing that I really appreciate with you, and I do the same, is when we get on stage, you and I have conversations with people about something that you and I are passionate about.
And it's different it's not, we don't have a script.
Exactly. We're not there to talk to people. We're not there to lecture anyone. Talk at them,
yeah.
or basically have a scripted story that we literally use every time we go to an event. So when I get on stage and you get on stage, the commonality that certainly I have with you is it's a conversation. It's about a topic that I'm really passionate about. I try to get as personal as I can, and that's why when I go to conferences, I stay there from day one to the final thing, because I want to get to know everyone. And even when I'm done, and I hear this a lot, wow, it's amazing that you're still here and you were speaking yesterday, and that's amazing. I get this all the time.
I don't do enough of that.
Well, that's because probably you have something else going on.
I got my kids a lot of times too.
Yeah. So your situation's a little different. But I find that's one is I have the ability with, just like you, conversation is big. I think the number 2 is I try to personalize it as much as I can. So when I get to know people, I use them as part of my conversation.
How do you remember their names?
I don't know.
Crazy. You're really good at that.
I don't know. I've got an internal game or something.
It's really, but that's a muscle. That's really good. It stands out because again, I think of these people that, you see, there's one person I'm thinking of in particular that just has been doing the same talk for 10 years. And, gesture here, smile now. And again, I feel bad kind of but it's there's so many, I don't know, there's a better way. I don't know. I think to me, I find, do you find that you get energy from the room?
Yes.
To use, I think, to me, speaking is done best when it's a circuit, right? It's not you sprinkling knowledge on the audience and them just kind of receiving it. It's when you're getting something back and it's it feeds. That's to me the best.
Yeah. And that's why I like to have a conversation with people who want to hear my passion. And if that passion then is reciprocated and they feel it too, then it comes back. So yeah, absolutely. I think there's that part of it. And certainly the other part from the speaking side is, for me personally, is I wear Hawaiian shirts, man. I try to be as different as I possibly can, and I try to make it fun. But the biggest thing is, because I hear this from audience members that I've talked with through my sort of evolution of speaking, is the biggest thing they want that speaker to tell them what to do. What do I do next? And how do I do this? So if you're telling me and you're showing me all these successful stories, okay, how did they do that?
Yeah.
So either they're going to take all the notes and do it, and that's probably never going to happen. They're going to do that, and then they're going to reach out to you and say, look, we can't. We tried this thing, and we're not going to be able to do this. So for me, that's the big win for me, is when I'm on stage, I try to, as much as I can, say, look, here's some things. I'm going to open up the curtains. Here's how we do it. Here's how you can do it. And if you can do it, great. If you can't, let us know, right?
You just mentioned one of the most important things. I call it, I don't know if you've ever seen, but I call it the Jamie Oliver effect, where I'll say to people, look, the hard sell doesn't work anymore in marketing. Right. You need to give them all the value up front. You need to tell them all your secrets, all your IP, intellectual property.
Exactly.
And then I see people kind of sit back in their chair. I did a talk out east a couple weeks ago, and you could see people I said, if you're a golf pro and you want to get, and I went and I audited them on Twitter, what are they doing? Are they on Instagram? And they're not really doing much. And if they are, it's very kind of push.
Right.
And so I said, if you're a golf pro and you want to get more customers for your golf lessons next summer, I would spend the entire winter sharing everything and putting it online. Put it on Twitter, put it on Instagram, put it on Facebook, do Ask Me Anything. And you could see them. People are like, well, if I give it all away, they're not going to want to do business with me. And I said, okay, how many people in this room have purchased something, have given any money to Jamie Oliver ever? So you went to one of his restaurants, you bought a cookbook, you bought one of his knives or something like that. And it's amazing to do, because every place I've been, 70 to 90% of the people put their hand up. And I say, okay, why did you pay Jamie Oliver? It's, well, it's because I like his Christmas special, or because I make his recipes at home. All the stuff that he puts out for free, which makes you buy into him, credibility. You wouldn't know who he was if he didn't give away everything. Every one of his recipes, you can look online right now and get for free. And so there's a lot of people you could substitute that name with. He's the one that I like to use because everyone kind of enjoys him and likes him.
Right.
That works at every level of business. Like I do that, you do that.
Yep.
And I think, Gary Vaynerchuk is
Yep.
the king of doing that. Like he says, every tip that I have, you can find just like on my blog or on YouTube.
Yep.
And so to me, like that's like almost a superpower. Like there are people that I compete against in my business, like very niche business who have a website, like no blog, no content, no posts. Like it's all like they're kind of hoarding this information. And so I don't think they realize that they're shooting themselves in the foot from a marketing perspective.
Well, absolutely. And we can go back to the earlier part of our conversation, and that is, it's not about, hey, give them all these tips. The biggest thing is the execution. You can give them all these tips, but if I try to do something you're doing, it's not going to turn out the same. There are coffee companies who have their coffees in tins that they sell at grocery stores, but you hear people saying, hey, I bought it, but it doesn't taste the same. Yeah. Okay, maybe it's a psychological thing or not. So it's the same idea. Here's all the steps. Step 1, you want to do media training? Great. Here's how you do it. Here's 5 steps to media training. Go nuts. They'll probably look at it and say, well, we can't do this. This is too much work. Get Warren, right? Let's just hire Warren. Yeah. But at least the point is, okay, well, take a look at this, study it, and then when I show up, let's go through this, step by step. Yeah. So you're right. I think more and more people that I come across, are just holding everything to their chest and saying, I don't want to give that away. Why would I do that? Then there's no value for me. Sure, there's tons of still value for you.
Well, it's the awareness. And then, even if let's say, so I'm sure there's a lot of people who, I put out videos, blog posts, whatever. If someone can get some tips and then execute on that and they don't do business with me, that's still great. Like go, because then maybe they'll tell a friend or something down the road. Yeah. So, if someone was going to get into speaking, like I know that there are people out there, like I know personally probably about 5-6 people I know who are great. Like, you see them on a stage, you're like, you have a great story to tell, but they're too scared to do it. They're like, public speaking is my number one fear, or no one wants to hear me, which I guarantee that's not the case. So if you took someone who's just, they have their own business, they're sitting in a cubicle, they're like a scientist, a marketer, whatever, and they wanted to envision themselves doing a keynote at a conference, let's say 2 years from now, what would be your advice to get them from like anonymity to keynote in 2 years? Or like maybe that's not the right time frame, maybe it takes more time, but what would be your advice?
I think the first thing right out of the gate is try to do some free speaking opportunities in your local community, something that you're comfortable with. Do as many free ones as you can just to practice.
Chamber of Commerce, conference,
BIA, schools, your local professional association, local events that are happening that maybe are looking for a free speaker about something. Do as many as you can there. And unlike what I was doing, just a lesson learned from me, video them. Get someone, get a grade 11, grade 12, grade 12 student to just come and video. Just video the entire thing. Don't edit or anything. Just video it. So
just have it on a hard drive.
Exactly. So that you can, 2 things.
Important.
You can watch it back and see
what you need to get better at.
Exactly. And then perhaps then start using it as a little bit of a sizzler reel so that if you do have that next free opportunity, you can give it to the organizer, say, hey, here's a quick sizzler reel of mine. Yeah. Take a look. And if you'd like me to join this event, I'll join here it is. Here you can see me.
And what's really cool also is that over the course of years, you can see how you change. Yeah. Because like one conference to the next, you don't really see the change, but like 4 years later, you're like, holy shit, what a difference.
Right. So you got that, and then come up with a couple of content pieces that you think would be of interest to the audience, with the one understanding that you're there to educate. You're not there to sell. You're not going to sell from the stage. Yeah. And if you have
people sense that a mile away.
And usually the rule of thumb is if you're from a speaker's perspective, if you're on stage and you're speaking for free, that kind of opens up the door for you to sell from the stage. If you're there and you're getting paid, you don't sell from that. It's kind of that's a no-no. What I say, if you're getting there on stage, you're for free, that doesn't actually mean I wouldn't sell from the stage. I'm just not that type of guy. But there are a lot
they won't invite you back.
They won't invite you back.
And no one wants that. Right. I think, like, to me, I go back to the earlier point. The best way to sell from the stage is to provide value from the stage. Yes. Like, when you get those the sort of evaluations a couple weeks later from the conference people, you want to be the one who like kicked ass and did a great job, and you're more likely to, and you can use that feedback to either get better or to get another speaking opportunity. Right. But how important do you think? because I'm talking about speaking just for speaking's sake.
Yeah,
And like, I see tremendous value in it. Like, how important do you think that is into the whole marketing ecosystem for a business like yours or business like mine? Like, for you to get on stage and have that platform, how important do you think it is?
I think from my perspective, I think it's quite important because it builds that credibility, right? And people want to do business with the speaker, right? That's why I get, so what are you doing here? Oh, I'm the speaker. Oh, you're the speaker. Oh yeah, I've seen you on page 3. Yeah. Oh, I'm looking forward to it. So, and then next thing you know, people want to do some business. If they do, they like to do it with the speaker. I was like, hey, that's the speaker. So there's some sort of credibility. But the other thing I would say is it gives me the opportunity to practice the way I'm communicating, and that helps me in my business. So if I have opportunities to meet up with people face to face, I can communicate with them eyeball to eyeball in very confident manner and really showcase some serious credibility and first impression right out of the gate. For me, first impressions matter big time.
Yeah.
I'm a big first impression guy.
You have a good one.
Well, I think so, but some others think it maybe becomes arrogant, but it is
you know
what
what?
it is.
And not everyone's going to like you. That's a
I'm
lesson
not here
that
to
takes a
make
long
best
time
friends.
to, I spent so earlier in your career, you try to make everybody like you. And like at a certain point, you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about negative people earlier. Like, I read this thing or heard something last week that said, good work polarizes the audience.
Right.
Like half of them are going to love you, half of them are going to hate you. And so you have to be kind of okay with that. But I think early in your career, you just want to make everybody like you. And so you end up watering down your offering.
Exactly.
So what is it, like 3 years ago or 2 years ago, we did that thing, that full day social media thing for Festivals and Events Ontario. So this is like, I think that was the first time we spoke at the same conference, like back to back. And then we did like a full day thing.
Yep.
And so we've been talking about doing this for a couple of years.
Yeah.
We haven't actually set it up, but the year, like 2020 is the year that it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So we're putting it out on audio here. So it's got to take place. So basically, like, there's not a lot of really great social media, workshops out there to show people, like you said, in the trenches, how do you do it? How do you create content? How do you create engagement? How do you build your following in an organic manner, not to buy buy followers or bots and stuff like that. So this is the year we're going to do it. So we're committing that we're going to do at least one of these, maybe more.
Yep.
And we'll put like a public sign up, and if organizations want to sign up, they can do it, and they can see the Hawaiian shirt. Will you wear a Hawaiian shirt?
Yeah, sure, I'll do it. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'll wear my trademark black.
But see, here's the key. The key that you just said, Warren, is that we're going to show you the way to do this organically. Yeah. So you're going to have some patience, and there's some tricks that we'll show you, and also it's got to be consistent. So yeah, we tried it out, and I think it worked really well. And we've been talking about this and saying, hey, we got to
couple of years.
Yeah, it's been at least a couple of years. Yeah, gosh.
But the years just keep flying by.
Yeah, so it's like, hey, let's kind of let's do this together and see what happens. And I think said this to you before we hit the record button. I think we will get some really serious
people
traction.
Need help. Like it's so funny that when what you think organizations are doing and what they're actually doing.
Yes. Everybody
should have some, on a scale from 1 to 10, people should be at about a 6 or 7 with their social media. And I did a talk to a podiatry conference a couple months ago, and I was talking about social media, and these are people who are like their only marketing thing. I'm on the Yellow Pages. Like, I got Yellow Pages, and you know what's happening? These guys are such dicks. Like, wow. And so first of all, you get the phone book, and people they throw it in the blue box. Of
course,
we don't even. So that's number one. So now number 2 is they have these. I'm not saying anything out of school, but if you have a business and you're investing a lot of and they're paying a lot of money for a Yellow Pages ad. Like, some guy said he was paying $400 a month for his ad for Yellow Pages. And so the person on the line, the salesperson, calls him up, says, are you going to renew your Yellow Pages ad? He's like, I don't know. I've heard people say I don't. Yeah. And so what they say is, if you don't have it, you're going to disappear off the internet. Like, no one's going to be able to find you if you don't pay this $5,000 a year or whatever the case may be. Yeah. And so they kind of scare them into staying. And to me, it's like this predatory model where I'm like, you know what? I've never had a Yellow Pages ad, and I said, take out your phones and look up media trainers in Toronto, and I should come up on number 1, if not on the first page, certainly. So you can do that for your business, but all you need to do is just create a little bit of content, have a blog, have some videos. The golf folks, similar thing. I'm not telling stories out of school here. Like, the lawyers, accountants, dentists, they all are at square 1 or 2. So to me, those are the companies, those are the people. Like the guy who fixes my car. I got this this guy in this garage in Oakville. He's amazing. He's amazing. You also have the stereotype of the crook mechanic. This guy's fantastic. He not the guy that restored my car. The guy's a dickhead. But this guy, he he does amazing work, fair prices. His Google reviews are off the charts. I'm like, dude, you got to be doing more of this like online. He's like, I don't know how that works. So
Really?
to me, that's the guy. So just before we go, I want to talk about email marketing.
Yes. Yeah.
Like I thought email marketing was dead. And one of my huge regrets is I wasn't building a mailing list. Like I kind of deleted all that and I went all in on social media.
Yep.
And about a year ago, well, after I saw you actually, I'm like, Jesus, so I put a little thing at the bottom of my website, sign up for my newsletter, or sign up for my list. I've never used it, but I've got about 80 names on there. It's like sad. It could be.
But still, it's good.
But so first of all, is email marketing dead? Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
And so how do you do it well? Because like I know I've unsubscribed to so much bullshit.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think there's only 2 email newsletters that I get that I actually look for. So 2020, you want to do email well for your company or business. How would you do it? What are your tips?
So 3 things. First of all, email is definitely not dead. It still is to this day, and you can all look it up. To this day, it's still the #1 digital tactic above and beyond Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn combined. Without just blows it out of the water. So a couple of things. So first of all, with email marketing, the #1 thing you want to do before you even do anything with the software, and we'll get to that. The #1 thing you want to do is look at your list. And this is great. Let's use you as an example. Okay, let's say we're rounded up to 100 people. Perfect. Look at your 100 people and segment that list. Maybe 50 of them are in Calgary, 20 of them are in Vancouver, whatever, right? Or maybe you segment them based on their lifestyle. Maybe you segment them, in your case, based on what they do because of all the media training you're doing. So #1, segment. And it's best if you segment your list when it's small, because it's a fucking pain in the ass when it's 3,000, 4,000 people. Now you got to segment the list. That's going to take you months on end to figure that out. So that's #1, segment your list. #2, consistency. Figure out when you're going to send this communication. Is it going to be every other week? Is it every month? What is this? What is the frequency of this? Because consistency, we've had this conversation today. The overlying thing about anything we've had this conversation around is the fact that it's got to be consistent. So if you're going to write content, blogs you mentioned.
So how often should I be, like I've sent out 0 things to these folks and I don't want to be irritating people. Like is there a frequency?
Month. Start at once a month.
What do you, like to me, I follow Scott Galloway. I don't know if you know who he is. Professor Galloway. He wrote The Algebra of Happiness and the book about Amazon, really, really good. Okay. Like I'll send the link to you. Yeah. To me, great newsletter, but he's not selling anything. He's talking. He was the guy that predicted the downfall of WeWork.
Oh, really?
Like months and months before it happened, and he's out there. He's really cool guy.
So how often does he send it?
I think it's weekly.
Okay, so if you can do this weekly and it's valued content, people are going to.
But as we said earlier, not just selling.
Yeah, if you're going to do it weekly, you're going to sell every week. Scott's going to sell every week, which he definitely is not doing. His services. At some point, someone's going to unsubscribe. Probably the second one.
I'm more likely to buy his book because he's not selling.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, I'm not forgetting who he is.
Yeah, but the key thing is that he has the ability. If maybe it's him personally or someone on his team who's doing this. Or maybe every month he does the content for the next month on a weekly basis. So he's already ahead of the schedule every month.
You're not behind.
Right. So if you have that ability to do it every week, great. So it's all about, #2 is about frequency, consistency. You got to figure that one out. If it's monthly, weekly, bi-weekly, whatever it is, every second Tuesday, I don't care whatever it is, but it's got to be consistent. And the third one, most important, is the software. So within that software, you got to have software to do this. You can't do this stuff on Outlook and Gmail. It just doesn't work. Because you're going to get blacklisted at some point. So find yourself some software in terms of, it could be a Constant Contact, could be BombBomb, could be
like MailChimp,
it could be there's like
Emma,
thousands
there's a bunch,
of them. Yeah, there's thousands of them. So you got to figure out which one is yours.
So we're in Canada. What about these anti-spam laws?
Yes.
Scared the shit out of me. Like that's one of the reasons I haven't sent anything out.
Well, that's the thing. So when you're looking at the software, make sure the software is.
So it takes care of all that.
You got to make sure the software is CASL compliant. Some American softwares, some American email service providers are not.
Top level, people have to opt in and they have to have a way to opt out.
Yes.
Is that basically it?
Basically it. So there's 5 different things in terms of the anti-spam legislation, but the top level is you gotta basically they gotta be given. You have to get some consent from them.
Yeah, you can't just like join people up.
Yeah, join people up, and then second top level is they got to be able to get out of there. It's unsubscribe.
Okay.
There's got to be an unsubscribe button somewhere.
Okay,
right. And there's a couple other things in between.
Yeah,
but those are kind of the key things.
So what about like a LinkedIn email to somebody? Like, hey, is that not
Like, look, when you, so I'll give you an example. When you do a blog post, let's use your example.
Yeah.
You do blog posts and you're a very good writer, so you do that blog post, right? Or we're going to do this podcast.
Okay.
Send an email communication to your email community that this podcast
I just feel like
is
everyone's
now
going to unsubscribe. Confidence issue.
Well, or okay, forget about the podcast.
Nothing. It's not you. It's me.
Yeah,
you
well,
know?
let's look at your blog post, right?
Yeah.
Once you get the blog post done.
Well, I guess if they unsubscribe, then they
Look, I say to people, if someone's going to unsubscribe, they're doing you a favor.
Yeah.
Because why are you going to do all the work when no one wants to listen? So great, they're doing you a favor.
So you cultivate your own.
Cultivate your own, and then you go and you get more and more, and it takes time.
Okay. So last thing before we wrap up, I want to respect your time.
Yeah.
Are you aware what we talked about Gary Vaynerchuk a few times? If you haven't heard of this guy, a lot of people have, but it's so funny. A lot of people haven't.
Wow.
To me, best social media practitioner in the world. He's got a team of like 20 people following around, creating content. Are you familiar with what he's doing with text marketing? Have you followed any of that at all?
No.
So you got to check this out.
Okay.
I did it I did it for this conference. So Gary I've noticed everywhere he is, he has these little things on there saying, text me at whatever.
Okay.
So I'm like, text him, like, what's he talking about? Okay. So I text him to this, I'm like, hey, I've said, hey, Gary, or whatever. I sent a text to the note and I got this automatic thing back saying, okay, thanks for texting me. This is the only automated message you're going to get from me. Click on this link, add yourself to my phone so I know who you are. And it's a third-party platform, but he's using text marketing. And this is something you got to figure out. So he said the email open rates, what are they today? Like, I don't know, 20%, 10, 3%, like whatever they are, they're low. Text open rates are 98%.
Oh yeah.
And so I'll show you. I'll show you this on my phone, and I'll put a screenshot of this in the show notes as well.
Okay.
Where is it here? Gary Vaynerchuk. So this is the kind of stuff that he's sending out. He's just like he's sending these notes, these like little videos about Happy Thanksgiving, or he's like a little pep talk for the day, something like that. But it's like he's using it. He's not selling at all. But like in the macro sense, he is. But on the micro level, it's just these little notes, like he's your buddy. And it, like, to me, there's little typos in them and stuff like your friends would do too. But like to me, this is one of the big tactics for the year.
Well, it's interesting. Thursday thoughts. Have the best ever. Enjoy. Huh? You're right. It's all about. He's
slid into your DMs. He's like he's texting you, and so this is. But like he said, he's getting 3,000 to 4,000 of these a day from people. Like he's getting texts and he's answering 300 to 400 of them a day. Like he said, there's no way he can keep up with it. But like to me, this is something. So the company's called community.com.
Okay.
And if you go to their website, they're not.
So are these texts him actually texting
This is
you?
him from his phone. Like he uses the platform and it goes out to everybody. It's not
so
just
it's one to
me.
many. So there you go.
One to many, but
Oh,
also one to
interesting.
one. Like he'll also send out notes to specific people, or he'll give away. He's given away. Like he had one the other day where he said he had a new shoe. He has these shoes that he sells, K-Swiss or whatever.
Yeah.
And so he had a picture, or he said, DM me your shoe size and like something. To DM me your shoe size and like a little symbol or something. And so he's giving away shoes, but he ended up I think he said that post sold 1,000 pairs of shoes. So to me, like just again, tip of the spear. This is like the next version of all this stuff. So like I totally want to get in on that. So
community.com. I'm going to check this out.
So next time we come in, we'll have some more stuff to chat about.
Yeah.
We'll have a date for the social media thing.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to plug before you how can people follow you or find you online?
You can put that all in the show notes. Again, I'm like I said, I'm not too. Hey, if people want to connect with me, look me up. Certainly on LinkedIn, look me up under. But
so we'll put all your social stuff on there.
Yeah.
I recommend following me. He's a good guy. Yeah. And if you have a conference coming up in 2020 or 2021, because they plan these things so far out, anything marketing, give Javed a call.
And both of us, we should do. To give us a call. It'd be a great tag team.
What's the thing you called our show? Do you remember what you called it that one time?
Thinking the Ebony and Ivory show. Ebony and Ivory show. Yeah. Hire the real Ebony and Ivory. Forget about the other two.
Yeah, those are just posers.
Those are just posers.
All right, Javed Khan, thank you so much for coming in today.
Hey, thank you, Warren. Appreciate it.
Just before you go, please take a second to go to Apple Podcasts and leave either a review or a rating for the show. It'll help other people find it in the sea of other podcasts. I want to say thank you very much to you for listening, and thank you to Javed for taking the time to chat with me. All the best, and we'll see you next time.